What is up, y'all, and welcome back to the second episode of Pretty Politics. This is the series on my channel where I talk about all things culture, politics, and do my makeup at the same time. If you like this style of video, consider subscribing to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and sound off in the comments down below, and let's get down to business. So in today's video, we're gonna actually be talking about the Ohio train derailment. So I want to go over kind of everything that we already know about the situation and just kind of discuss how the situation has been handled or poorly handled so far. P.S. I will list everything that I'm using in the description down below if you're at all curious. And back to the topic at hand. So to me, this catastrophic accident really speaks volumes about the Biden administration and really showcases why I feel like the current president is simply put unfit for the job. I think Biden's response to the situation, or I would argue lack thereof, really highlights what his true motivations are in office. Quick side note, I do hope this video series finds its way to the girlies soon, because I know there's a lot of other girls that look like me and think like me. Like, not all conservative girls are just, you know, like a Tommy Lauren. Like, I don't think I'm like the typical conservative. I don't think that I like necessarily look the part, or I don't know. I just tend to be a little bit more like creative and different. And I think we really lack that on the right. That's part of the reason I wanted to start this channel, is to just like start creating some culture in the conservative sphere, because I feel like it's very cut and dry. We need more real people that are just like relatable, you know? So anyways, with former President Donald Trump visiting the town over this past week, calling for Biden to come himself, we can clearly see who is more fit for the task, in my humble opinion, but I digress. So on February 2023, a freight train carrying at least 5 cars of vinyl chloride, which is a carcinogenic gas used to produce PVC and vinyl products like PVC piping, for example, derailed while passing through the town of East Palestine, Ohio. So this led to an explosion of its type that I feel has never really been seen to this magnitude in the United States before. And this accident resulted in the explosion catching on fire. And herein lies the problem. So when vinyl chloride burns, it causes hydrogen chloride, phosgene carbon monoxide, I'm probably saying that wrong, and carbon monoxide vapors to emit in the air. And, you know, these chemicals are obviously very dangerous, and they're super toxic to both humans and other animals alike. And sadly, this will likely have seriously long-lasting effects on the air quality, the soil, the water supply, the livestock, and honestly, God knows what else. Long story short, the people of East Palestine are screwed. Like they're screwed big time. At this point, we really don't know like how much was released and the lasting power of it. So unfortunately, we're just gonna see what has to happen as time goes on. Nonetheless, this is a tremendous accident. Okay, like I'm just trying to make the point that this is a disaster, basically. It's really not a wonder why this accident happened, as we've now uncovered footage of extremely poorly maintained train tracks in a nearby town called Cecile, Ohio. But, you know, according to Pete Buttigieg and the National Transportation Safety Board, this was all due to a mechanical error with an axle on one of the 150 cars that was carrying these chemicals. It should also be noted that there were additional train derailments discovered throughout the rest of the nation as well, with another massive accident happening in Houston, Texas, very soon after the Ohio accident on the 14th of February. Reminder, the Ohio incident happened on the 3rd of February. So naturally, many people on the right start speculating as to why these toxic train derailments are happening mostly in red areas that have traditionally voted red and more specifically voted for Donald Trump. I mean, Just a food for thought. But so on February 5th, 2023, Governor Mike DeWine ordered all residents near the Ohio-Pennsylvania border to evacuate the area immediately. The next day, on February 6th, crews began a controlled release of remaining rail cars that were supposedly in danger of exploding. Only 2 days later, East Palestine Chief Keith Drawbrick lifts the evacuation order and tells residents they can come on back home. 2 days later. So soon after this announcement that everyone can come back, the area is deemed safe and clear for people to return. Tons, and I mean tons of footage begins circulating of clearly toxic waters, schools of dead fish floating down streams. I mean tons, just fish obliterated, floating down streams, like so sad. Dead animals turning over in fields. Reporters getting arrested for trying to report on this huge national crisis, and residents crying out for help and resources, both on local news stations, on TikTok and social media. I have to say, seeing all of the dead fish really made me sad because I don't know, like I'm on my way to finding Christ and I'm reading the Bible right now, and it just brought me back to Genesis where, you know, God talks about like creating all of the earth and the animals. And I just like feel like I just see this image in my head of him like up there in heaven, just like looking down on this and like crying, like looking at his beautiful creations of these fish and these animals just like dead, like all in a matter of seconds, just dead, and to such a large scale. And I just envision him like so like crying up there, and it makes me so sad for him. But anyways, if you head over to any of the legacy media outlets, this footage is really not anywhere to be found on any of these websites. And this is likely because their ringleader, Biden, claims that the accident has been cleared, it's cleaned up, and East Palestine is it's ready to go. We can all go back to normal now. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Newsflash, everything is clearly not fine. Like, I know you're like fading out, Biden, because you're literally ready to probably keel over at any minute, but like, come on. I think anybody, and even their not so right mind, can see how disastrous this really is. So many of the East Palestine residents that returned home started to complain of foul odors in the air. They claim they've been experiencing headaches, nausea, and a myriad of other health effects. Now, while all this is going on, Governor DeWine declared that the water was safe to drink based on the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency's water tests that they performed on the town's municipal water supply. But a lot of footage that's being exposed really seems to show a different story.
Wow.
Look at all that.
Look at it.
It's all in the bottom.
Jump to February 16th, we get word that FEMA denies assistance, federal assistance, to Ohio and the train disaster. This falls on the Department of Transportation, and they did not do anything to protect these residents from this. And yet, when everything hits the fan, the government is nowhere to be found, nowhere to be relied on. And I think a lot of people were just really kind of disgusted by that. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources estimates that over 3,500 fish died due to this accident. Residents from all over are complaining about very real and present health effects. And at this point, the accident is literally being deemed a second Chernobyl. And yet, even still, FEMA denied them any assistance. And don't forget, President Biden is still nowhere to be found in East Palestine at this point. I mean, really, he should be like on the back of the milk cartons with like all the missing posters. Where is Biden? People are literally calling this an American Chernobyl, and Biden is nowhere to be found. He's allowing for FEMA to deny any assistance and resources to the area. It just like, it makes no sense. Like, what is going on? After much pushback, FEMA does decide to send a senior response official, whatever the hell that means, as well as a regional incident manager to the site to, honestly, I don't really know what. It doesn't really seem like it's the equivalent of like what they did for Hurricane Katrina, for example. FEMA claims that, well, we usually deal with natural disasters, so this just isn't really like appropriate, and Ohio does not qualify for, the federal assistance at this time. I think what myself and many others are thinking is, right, but this was caused by a lack of oversight. You could blame the Department of Transportation for this to some degree, because they do have standards for safety precautions, and it appears that they really were not keeping up with this. So in my opinion, this incident absolutely calls for federal assistance. I don't think anyone really gives a shit that it's not a natural disaster. It's obviously going to become one because these chemicals are so toxic to any living thing around it and will affect their food supply and their water supply for God knows how long. It just seems a little bit heartless to me, and it seems like there is some ulterior motive in not approving East Palestine for federal assistance for the train derailment. I feel like you really do have to wonder why the federal government is acting like this is no big deal. The fact that these major news outlets like NBC, ABC, etc. aren't covering the story is also very suspicious. But you have to wonder why. Why would you not possibly think it's a good idea to help this town and help these people? Not doing so is only going to make you look horrible to the public. So in my mind, something's not adding up and something's not right here. This is literally one of the worst train accidents in history, and they're just acting like it's no big deal. Now, let's be real here for a second. Biden is just too preoccupied chatting it up over in Ukraine with Zelensky, scheming ways to launder more of our tax money, all while catalyzing World War III. Oh, I love Biden. He's such a great president. He really cares about us. Wrong. Meanwhile, President Trump has been in the affected area all week, helping out residents, buying them meals, bringing them water, showing support, and showing Biden how it should be done. Even if you're not a fan of Trump, the way Biden has handled this accident and his absence, plus his appearance in Ukraine, should really show you where his interests lie. Donald Trump is not even the president of the United States right now, but he actually cares about his country enough to do what he can to help these people and do the right thing. Trump was kind of losing me there for a second, support-wise. Like, I had just kind of been feeling like, his time is up. Like, the people that hate him, they already hate him, and there's nothing you can do to change their minds. And it's pretty split. I feel like people either love or hate him, and the ones that hate him, there's no changing their mind. And I just kind of felt like the way he had been handling himself recently, and I just felt like this just seems like a losing game. But you know what? The way he's been handling himself in this situation when he is not even the president right now has really gained back my support and my trust in him, because he genuinely cares about the people in this country and he wants them to succeed. And when you see the videos of him there interacting with the people, he's great because he's actually showing up for them when they really need it most. Donald Trump never fails to show leadership. And that's one quality I think Biden seriously lacks. And it's kind of a really important one. It is clear that President Biden is only in office to further his own interests. And his choice not to visit Ohio during one of the biggest crises of his time in office speaks absolute volumes about his character and his general lack of care for the American people in general. Even Biden's hiring choices show that he is incapable of performing the job of president correctly. Biden's pick for Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, has proven time and time again that he is unfit for the position. Whether he is allowing for flights to be canceled and for planes not to leave the ground all over the nation during the most traveled week of the year, Christmas, or allowing these crazy train derailments to just keep happening under his watch, he is obviously extremely unqualified for the position. These situations have continually happened, and yet the Biden administration allows him to stay because the Biden admin is more concerned with looking like he knows what he's doing and appealing to liberal voters. I really don't think it's too far-fetched to suggest that Biden loves a good diversity hire because it makes him look good to the liberal voters. But But this is exactly what happens when you hire based on what someone looks like, how they identify it, rather than hiring them on their merit. Sam Brinton was hired for the same exact reasons, and look how that turned out. The guy can't stop stealing women's luggage at airports, which are ironically overseen by Buttigieg. Don't forget, Biden has also been exposed a lot in the past for condemning gay marriage and making some real racist remarks. So don't buy into the facade that he cares about you as a gay person or a minority. He don't, okay? The only thing Biden cares about is keep lining them pockets with his good-for-nothing son, Hunter. And this works for him because it plays right into the hands of the deep state. The Ohio train derailment catastrophe will be one of our country's most historic, devastating moments. The effects that this will have on the people of East Palestine, Ohio, and the surrounding area will likely be everlasting. Those people in that area need a leader, and so does the rest of the country. And right now, looks like Donald Trump is the only one who's willing to step up to the plate. Again, where is Biden? At the end of the day, this was a horrible, disastrous situation, and I feel so deeply for those people in the affected area, as well as the livestock that have lost their lives as well, all due to carelessness and just lack of care in general. If you happen to watch this and you feel so compelled, I'm going to leave a list of resources and organizations that you can help contribute to help the people in Ohio if you feel so inclined or moved to do so, because obviously they can't rely on our president or our government to help them, but it's in our blood as Americans to help our fellow brethren. If you got nothing else from this video, please consider looking into those and maybe helping out. So, what do you think is really going on? Do you think there's ulterior motives with Biden choosing to ignore it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you have any topic ideas or anything you'd like to hear my opinion on or learn about while I do my makeup or something, please leave them in the comments down below because I would love to hear some suggestions. I hope you enjoyed this look. I think it looks pretty good. I tried a little bit harder this time. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you next week. Peace.